Have you ever stopped to think that not every pickup truck has to be a monster with giant tires and a body the size of a school bus? That's right. Some of the most unusual pickups ever made are so tiny they can fit in a compact car parking spot. Yet, they could haul cargo, climb hills, and handle tough jobs, just like the big trucks. And the craziest part? Most people don't even know these models ever existed. Now, imagine driving a pickup that's under 10 feet long, looks like a toy car, but actually has a real engine, gears, traction, and a working bed. Sounds like something out of a comedy movie, right? Well, get ready, because today we're taking a different kind of ride, a journey through the smallest pickup trucks ever built. Some of them come with unbelievable stories, clever engineering, and such a compact size that they almost look fake. Ready to discover these miniature legends that broke the rules and became true icons on wheels? Stick around until the end, because the last one on this list looks like a grocery cart with a motor, and you won't believe how much it can actually carry. Jeep Willys FC-150. Back in the 1950s, the world was still rebuilding after the scars of World War II. It was a time full of bold ideas about mobility and utility. That's when the Jeep Willys FC-150 was born, a compact pickup made in the United States with one clear mission: be small enough to maneuver through tight spaces, but tough enough to handle serious work. The result? A short, tall cab-over truck that looked like a toy, but earned its place as an off-road utility legend. At just under 11.5 feet long and around 5.5 feet wide, the FC-150 was one of the most compact pickups ever produced in America. But what really made it unique was its cab-over design. The driver sat directly above the front axle, making it feel more like driving a forklift with four-wheel drive. Under the hood, it had a 2.2-liter inline-4 engine producing around 75 horsepower. Modest, but enough to carry nearly 1,000 pounds in the bed. Paired with a manual transmission and four-wheel drive, the FC-150 could climb hills, crawl through mud, and perform like a mini military tractor. It had a leaf spring suspension and a reinforced frame, giving it surprising strength for its size. Inside, the cabin was tiny. Just two tight seats and a basic dashboard. But that minimalism appealed to farmers, electricians, workers, and even the military, who needed something reliable that could squeeze through narrow trails and city streets. The engine had a deep, gritty growl, and with the huge windshield and no visible hood, the view from the driver's seat was almost panoramic. Even though it was small by American standards, the FC-150 made its mark. It was exported around the world and modified into ambulances, tow trucks, and even airport patrol vehicles. And get this, a collector in the Netherlands turned one into a fully functional food truck and used it to serve gourmet burgers at music festivals. Not bad for a pickup that's pushing 70 years old, right? And if you think that was small, wait till you see the next one. A 90s icon with a boxy look and trail-ready attitude. Suzuki Geo-Tracker. By the late 1980s, the market was hungry for vehicles that were compact, efficient, and just adventurous enough to take off the pavement. That's when the Suzuki Geo-Tracker hit the scene. A fun-sized pickup that quickly became a favorite for drivers who wanted the feel of a small SUV with the practicality of a city car. Produced by Suzuki in partnership with General Motors, the Tracker debuted in 1989 and left a lasting mark on 90s pop culture. The first thing that stood out was its size. At 12.8 feet long and just over 5 feet wide, it was about the same size as a compact hatchback, but with the look of a mini Jeep and the function of a light-duty pickup. The hardtop version with a small cargo bed was perfect for hauling camping gear, surfboards, or weekend adventure supplies, all with serious style. It came with a 1.6-liter inline-4 engine, producing around 90 horsepower and roughly 95 pound-feet of torque. It may not sound like much today, but for a lightweight vehicle like this, it was more than enough to tackle dirt roads, mud tracks, and even sandy terrain. The Tracker had rear-wheel drive with a manual 4x4 selector and an independent front suspension combined with a solid rear axle. Even though it was small, it drove like a true offloader, with a high seating position, light steering, and that unmistakable whine of a compact Japanese engine from the 90s. Visually, it stood out with bright colors, sharp angles, and removable tops in some versions. You'd spot them in beach parking lots, mountain trails, or zipping around downtown, a perfect go-anywhere city truck. In the US, it was branded as the Geo Tracker, but overseas it was often sold as the Suzuki Vitara. Believe it or not, there were even automatic transmission options, a luxury for such a small utility vehicle back then. It also became popular in rural areas for its fuel efficiency, easy repairs, and ability to fit into tight garages. Today, many enthusiasts are restoring them as collectible mini off-roaders. But if you thought that was compact, wait till we take a trip across the pond to see a British legend based on one of the smallest cars ever made. Austin Mini Pickup. When it comes to compact vehicles, no country does it quite like the UK. And if there's one name that defines British automotive charm, it's the Mini. What most people don't know is that there was a pickup version of the Mini. That's right! The Austin Mini Pickup, first introduced in 1961, was a tiny utility truck based on the most beloved car in Britain. At just 11.3 feet long and around 4.6 feet wide, this pickup was so narrow that two adults sitting side by side would almost be shoulder to shoulder. But that was part of the appeal. A tiny workhorse designed for tight streets, light deliveries, and everyday errands. Under the hood was a 0.85-liter inline-4 engine, making about 37 horsepower. That's not a typo, just 37, but it was enough to carry tools, mail sacks, and small loads in the surprisingly useful bed. It had front-wheel drive and a 4-speed manual gearbox. Fuel economy was excellent, a huge plus during a time of economic restraint. The front suspension was independent, and the rear used rubber cone springs. Yes, actual rubber, for a simple yet effective ride. Styling-wise, it was adorable. The front end was identical to the classic Mini, with round headlights, a chrome grille, and skinny bumpers. Its low roofline and clean body gave it a subtle charm that made it a standout. Despite its dainty appearance, it was used by farmers, mechanics, and city workers who needed something small, cheap, and reliable. Culturally, the Mini Pickup became a symbol of small businesses throughout the UK. Florists, bakeries, print shops, and more used them for local deliveries. Some were even painted by hand with business names, turning them into rolling billboards. And here's a cool detail. In the 1970s, a version of the Mini Pickup was used as a camera crew support vehicle at a major British film studio. Small in size, big in legacy. But if you thought that was tiny, the next one is even smaller and was made by one of America's smallest automakers ever. Crosley Pickup. Before the era of giant V8s and full-size pickups, there was a tiny, bold company called Crosley Motors. And in 1947, fresh off the heels of World War II, they launched what looked like a miniature truck from a cartoon, the Crosley Pickup. Measuring less than 10 feet long, it looked like a child's toy with license plates, but it had a real engine and real utility. Made in the USA, the Crosley Pickup redefined the idea of compact utility. At 9.6 feet long and about 4.3 feet wide, it was smaller than many subcompacts today. It was so light that two people could literally push it out of a tight parking spot. It came with a 0.74-liter inline-4 engine, putting out around 26 horsepower and roughly 9 pound-feet of torque. That's less power than a modern scooter, but with an empty weight of about 880 pounds, it got the job done. A 3-speed manual transmission sent power to the rear wheels. Leaf spring suspension kept things basic, and steering was feather-light thanks to the car's low weight. The engine sounded more like a motorcycle than a car, high-pitched and steady. Despite its tiny size, the bed was practical for small jobs. It was used by bakers, electricians, shop owners, and small-scale farmers for hauling light goods around town and country roads. Visually, it had a friendly, boxy charm. Round headlights, upright windshield and skinny tires gave it a toy-like personality. But despite appearances, it was incredibly reliable and easy to fix, using simple tools and basic mechanics. And here's a twist. During World War II, Crosley actually supplied small vehicles for light military duties. Some versions of the pickup were later adapted for airport and warehouse use. Still think that's the smallest pickup you'll ever see? Hold tight, because up next is Honda's very first car. And yes, it was a micro pickup from the very beginning. Honda T360. Few people know this, but before Honda became one of the biggest automotive brands in the world, their very first passenger vehicle was a tiny pickup truck. Launched in 1963, the Honda T360 was a micro-utility vehicle made for post-war Japan, and it looked more like a toy than an actual truck. It was 11.1 feet long and only 4.2 feet wide. So narrow it could easily drive between two parked cars with room to spare. Its design was simple and boxy, with a wide windshield, circular headlights, a delicate front grille, and a narrow cabin just big enough for two slim passengers, as long as they didn't bring much with them. But the real surprise was under the hood. The T360 came with a 0.36-liter inline-4 engine. Yes, just 356 cc. That's about the same size as a scooter engine, and yet, thanks to Honda's high-revving engineering, it could push out about 30 horsepower, giving it enough grunt to reach nearly 55 miles per hour. Not fast, but respectable for something this small. It had a 4-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, and a suspension setup using coil springs up front and leaf springs in the rear. The little truck could carry up to 660 pounds, which is more than its own weight of about 1,100 pounds. Designed for light agricultural work and urban deliveries, the T360 was perfect for Japan's narrow alleys and busy streets. Its small size was an advantage, not a drawback, and it was incredibly fuel efficient, averaging more than 47 miles per gallon. Visually, it was charmingly utilitarian, a mini truck with motorcycle DNA. In fact, some versions had engines painted Honda's signature blue, a detail that collectors love to this day. Here's something wild. The engine revved so high and the sound it made was so sharp that people used to mistake it for a sport bike passing by. You'd hear it before you saw it, and when you did see it, you'd be doing a double take. If you're enjoying this journey through the world of tiny trucks, now's the perfect time to show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a new video full of weird, rare, and awesome machines. But hold on, because we're not done yet. The next one is another tiny Japanese pickup with a retro style so cartoonish, it looks like it drove straight out of an anime. Mazda Porter Cab. Think you've seen a small truck? Think again. Meet the Mazda Porter Cab, launched in 1969. A micro pickup designed for Japan's crowded cities and impossibly narrow alleyways. This little truck was 11 feet long and only 4.4 feet wide. That's smaller than most golf carts today. From the front, it looked like a tiny delivery van with round headlights, an upright windshield, and a cab-over layout. The driver sat nearly on top of the front wheels. Its engine, a 0.36-liter two-cylinder inline engine, producing around 34 horsepower. Thanks to the truck's light weight, just 990 pounds, it was surprisingly zippy in city traffic. With a 4-speed manual and rear-wheel drive, the Porter Cab could tackle small hills and tight turns with ease. It had coil springs on all 4 wheels and could carry loads of up to 770 pounds, almost its own weight. Design-wise, it had personality, a high, squared-off cab, round side mirrors mounted on the fenders, and a small cargo bed gave it that retro Japan vibe that collectors drool over today. In fact, it appeared in a few Japanese films from the 70s as a delivery vehicle for countryside towns. The Porter Cab was mostly used for short-distance work, open-air markets, farms, and even some airports. It sipped fuel, rarely broke down, and could fit through places most vehicles simply couldn't. It owned the nickname, the Japanese Ant, for how hard it worked, despite its tiny size. And get this, One famous electronics store in Tokyo used a Mazda Porter cab for over 30 years to deliver radios and portable TVs. When they retired the truck, they turned it into a display centerpiece inside the store, a piece of history that customers still take pictures with to this day. But now it's time to go even smaller and a whole lot weirder. The next truck on our list had only 3 wheels, looked like a scooter with a truck bed, and was used everywhere, from farms to police stations. Daihatsu Midget. When it comes to small vehicles, the Daihatsu Midget takes things to a whole new level. Released in 1957, this Japanese pickup wasn't just small, it was tiny. And to make things even more interesting, it had 3 wheels. That's right, the original Midget was a 3-wheeled micro truck with a fully enclosed cabin and a functional cargo bed. Designed during Japan's post-war economic recovery, it was built for affordability, simplicity, and maneuverability. It measured just 8.8 feet long and 4.1 feet wide, smaller than a modern golf cart. And yet it could haul up to 440 pounds in its rear bed, making it perfect for vendors, mechanics, farmers, and local delivery services. The first models came with a single-cylinder, 0.25-liter engine, producing just 12 horsepower. But thanks to its feather-light weight of 835 pounds, it could handle city slopes and narrow roads without breaking a sweat. It had a 3-speed manual gearbox and rear-wheel drive, which in this case meant a single driven wheel in the back. Handling wasn't exactly its strength, but for short trips and tight turns, it worked just fine. The design was adorable. It looked like a cross between a Vespa and a squished VW bus. A single headlight in the center gave it a friendly face, and the pastel color options made it look like a cartoon character on wheels. In Japan, the Midget became wildly popular. It was used by police departments, postal services, and even emergency medical crews in rural areas. Its charm and utility turned it into a national icon, one that inspired toys, scale models, and appearances in countless films. Fun fact, in the 1990s, Daihatsu brought it back as the Midget 2 with 4 wheels, air conditioning, and even optional automatic transmission, all while keeping the same tiny footprint and retro charm. Think that's as small as a pickup can get? Think again, because the next one is an Italian classic. A legendary city car turned into a tiny utility truck that became a cultural icon in the Italian countryside. Fiat 500 Ziba. The original Fiat 500, known in Italy as the Cinquecento, was already one of the smallest cars in the world when it launched in the 1950s. It was the symbol of post-war Italian mobility. But few know that there was also a pickup version. The incredibly rare Fiat 500 pickup, sometimes referred to by custom shops as the Ziba, built in limited numbers by specialty garages and occasionally by Fiat itself. The Fiat 500 pickup was created for light commercial work in small towns, farmers markets, and historic city centers. It used the same platform as the original 500 wagon, the Giardiniera, and measured just 9.5 feet long and 4.2 feet wide. That's even smaller than a modern smart car, but with a cargo bed. It came with a 2-cylinder engine producing about 17 horsepower, from just under 0.6 liters. That was enough to move the car's lightweight frame and carry baskets of fruit, flowers, tools, or light parcels. The 4-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, and simple suspension made it nimble in Italy's narrow alleys and hilly roads. Style-wise, it was impossible not to love. Round headlights, a bubbly front end, and a wooden or metal-framed mini bed out back. Many were hand-painted with business logos or two-tone schemes. It quickly became a staple in open-air markets, mountain villages, and old-town deliveries. People admired it, not just for its function, but for its charm. It was a perfect example of doing more with less. In some Italian regions, these tiny pickups became beloved icons. Today, there are collectors' clubs dedicated solely to the Fiat 500 pickup. Fully restored units now appear in car shows with polished beds and chrome details, reminding everyone of a time when utility and charm fit in the same tiny package. There's even a story of one being used by a Tuscan winery to deliver wine for over 30 years. When they retired it, they mounted it on a wooden platform in front of the vineyard as a photo spot for tourists. But hold on, we're not done shrinking yet. The next and final truck in this list defies logic. It's so small, so light, and so cheap that it seems like a prank. But it's real. It's electric, and it fits in a hallway. Changli truck. Imagine ordering a pickup truck online and having it delivered to your house inside a cardboard box. That's exactly what happened when the world discovered the Changli truck, considered by many to be the smallest electric pickup truck in the world. Built in China by Changzhou Sealy Car Industry, this micro-utility vehicle exploded in popularity after being listed on Alibaba for the price of a mid-range smartphone. And yes, it was shipped disassembled, like flat-pack furniture. Once assembled, charged, and ready to go, it became a fully functional EV. It's just 7.9 feet long and 4 feet wide, weighing only 617 pounds. It has an electric motor producing about 3 horsepower, which is enough to reach 20 to 25 miles per hour. With a maximum range of around 50 miles per charge, it can be plugged into any household outlet, like a laptop. The design is a mix of cute and quirky. It looks like a micro-delivery van, with LED headlights, a flat front panel, and a tiny cargo bed in the back. Inside, there's room for 2 people, basic seats, a digital dashboard, a USB port, and even a fan. In China, it's used for local deliveries, maintenance work, and even as a mobile food cart. Its silence makes it perfect for indoor environments like warehouses, campuses, and shopping centers. What's wild is that outside China, it became a viral curiosity. In the US, people buy them just for fun, to show off at car meets, modify into themed pickups, or drive around farms and backyards. One YouTuber even turned his into a Mad Max mini truck, complete with matte paint, oversized tires, and speakers that made it sound like a roaring V8, just to prank people on the street. While some laugh at it, the Changli truck is a bold experiment in ultra-compact urban transport. It proves that with creativity and simple engineering, you can build a working truck that fits in a bike lane. And there you have it, a collection of the smallest pickup trucks you never knew existed. From historic classics like the Austin Mini Pickup and Jeep Willys FC150 to modern-day oddities like the Changli truck. These tiny titans prove that size isn't everything, purpose is. They're not just machines, they're legends of compact engineering, built for efficiency, practicality, and charm. In a world that doesn't always need bulk to get the job done, pickups that made history became cultural icons, collector's items, and even memes. Now tell me, which one was your favorite? Which of these would you actually park in your garage? Would you go with the classic, the retro, or the electric micro truck? And hey, if you love content like this, with rare, quirky, and unforgettable machines, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and join us every week for more amazing stories from the world of extraordinary vehicles, big and small. See you in the next video.